Hey everyone, welcome to Growonomics. Today we're talking about the absolute basics of hydroponics, how it works, what you need, and how you can set up a simple system at home. As I've said before, hydroponics is a fantastic way to grow plants without soil. And that's the key part here, without soil. But you still have to give them all the nutrients and everything they need just like they're growing in soil. So by the end of this video, you'll understand the mechanics behind it. And with that, let's get started. So what is hydroponics? If we're going to define it, hydroponics is a method of growing plants in a water-based, nutrient-rich solution instead of soil. The key idea is that plants don't need soil to grow. They just need water to stay hydrated, nutrients for growth, oxygen for root respiration, and light for photosynthesis. By delivering these directly to the roots, hydroponic systems allow for faster growth, higher yields, and less water usage than traditional gardening. I know I just made some unsubstantiated statements there, but in future videos I'm going to go into exactly the numbers that I have to show that they do grow faster, you do get better yields, and you do use less water. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at those statements. So how do hydroponics work? There are a few key components. First, you have your water and nutrients. Instead of absorbing nutrients from the soil, plants in hydroponics get them from a nutrient-rich solution. This solution combines essential elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, and magnesium, along with some other trace minerals that plants need to grow. Then you have oxygenation. In traditional soil gardening, roots get oxygen naturally from pockets in the soil. In hydroponics, since the roots are submerged or suspended in water, you have to provide the oxygen manually or mechanically to prevent suffocation. Many hydroponic systems use an air pump and an air stone to keep the water oxygenated. And with that first system that I had, I did have to incorporate an oxygenation stone so that I could oxygenate the water. However, some systems, like the units I use now, don't use air stones at all. Instead, they aerate the water by continuously pumping it up and allowing it to fall back into the reservoir. This water movement increases dissolved oxygen levels naturally, and that helps to keep roots healthy. Then you have your root contact with water. Plants are either suspended directly in water, like in a deep water culture. They could be fed by a thin stream of nutrients, like in a nutrient film technique, or they could be grown in a medium that wicks up water, like coconut coir or rock wool. Finally, you have your light source to consider. Since most hydroponic systems are indoors, grow lights provide the specific spectrum of light plants need for photosynthesis. LED grow lights are the most efficient and most commonly used option by far, hands down. If you get a full spectrum LED grow light, it's going to do great things for your hydroponic systems. Just be sure to pay attention to the wattage, but I'm going to have a whole nother video about how to calculate light and distance from your plants. But for now, just pay attention to your light source. Now let's move on to how to set up your basic hydroponic system. To keep things simple, I'm going to focus on setting up a deep water culture system. It's one of the easiest hydroponic methods to understand, it's one of the easiest one to build, and by far it's one of the most common that you'll see out there. So here's what you'll need. You'll need a container or a reservoir to hold the nutrient solution. Generally speaking, a 5-gallon bucket works well for individual plants, and it even works well for some of the larger systems. Just make sure that you pay attention to the water level. One caveat here is you definitely want to make sure that you have a cover for it. Making sure light doesn't get in contact with your water is one of the most important pieces of hydroponics. Then you need to consider your net pots and your growing media. Net pots hold the plant in place. They're the little plastic baskets that you see. And the media, like rock wool, clay pebbles, or even just a rooting medium, supports the roots. Then you need to look at your hydroponic nutrients and a TDS meter. TDS stands for total dissolved solids. Liquid fertilizers are designed for hydroponics to provide all the essential elements for plant growth, and then you need to measure to make sure that you're holding it in the right amount of solution. Too much solution can burn out the roots, too little solution doesn't provide enough nutrients for growth. We'll do a whole nother video about nutrients, but for now, just make sure you have a good, reliable TDS meter and hydroponic nutrients that are full spectrum nutrients. Then you need to consider your aeration. In most DWC systems, an air pump continuously supplies oxygen to the roots by bubbling it through the air stone. Or you can have one like mine, where it's just a pump over method, where the water just falls and that oxygenates it by cascade method. Finally, you need a way to measure and alter your pH. So you'll need a pH meter and pH adjustment chemicals. I use General Hydroponics Up and General Hydroponics Down, and they've worked well for me for years. I'm not sponsored by them. They just work well, and I think a large number of other hydroponics growers would probably agree with that. As far as a pH meter goes, this is a really important piece to your system because you're going to measure your pH frequently. Nutrients are best absorbed when the water pH is between 5.5 and 6.5. There's going to be some play with that number. Some plants like higher pH, some plants like lower pH, but generally speaking, 5.5 to 6.5 is your happy place. And then you'll need the chemicals to adjust it, like I said. So if we talk about a step-by-step setup, the first thing you want to do is fill your reservoir with water and add your hydroponic nutrients. You'd also want to measure your pH and make any adjustments to it here before you get your plants in place. Then put your plants in net pots filled with growing media like rock wool, clay pebbles, or what I have here, which is just a standard rooting solution. Then put your net pots into your container lid. And if you have a system where you need to add an air stone, this is where you would add the air stone down into the reservoir and turn on the pump. Finally, you would set your grow lights above the plants and make sure that you have them set for 12 to 16 hours of light per day. As I said before, I'm going to do a whole nother video about lighting and intensity, but just make sure that when you're buying a light for this, you pay attention to the wattage. 20 to 25 watts is about the lowest that you would want, but you could go up to 40 or 60. You just have to make sure that you keep the distance between the light and the leaves high enough that you don't burn anything if you go for higher wattage. That's the absolute basics of hydroponics. Key takeaways here are that hydroponics provide plants with everything you need: water, nutrients, oxygen, and light without requiring soil. You just have to have mechanical delivery for all of those. If you're excited to learn more, be sure to click like and subscribe. In some future videos, we'll explore the best hydroponic nutrients, different system designs, step-by-step DIY build guides, and more. So thanks for watching Growonomics, and happy growing!